All right. Well, hi, everybody. Welcome to today's session. I hope you're having a wonderful Friday. And so today we are getting started with the intermediate video editing workshop. Like I said in the email that I sent yesterday, or if you received it this morning, I've included the recording from last time. So again, you'll have both recordings after this session. Feel free to download that zip file so that you can follow along on OneShot as Jay starts the tutorial. My name is Amanda. I'm an educational developer here with the studio and happy to see everyone. And we're excited to host this for a second time. And before we get started, I just want to say that we recognize the enduring presence of the Mi'kmaq Nation and express our gratitude for the opportunity here to live, learn, and work on this land. And may we strive for understanding, respect, and reconciliation as we continue to build relationships with the Indigenous peoples of this land. And so, as we kind of get started with today's workshop, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. I'll be monitoring that, or to jump in. It is a smaller group, so feel free to jump in with any questions that you have for Jay pertaining to any of the video editing software or the zip file itself. Again, thank you for being here, and I will pass it on to Jay to get started.
Hey, everybody. So this is the intermediate session. Therefore, we are not going to be showing everything we showed last time. I'm going to assume a lot of you have watched the video or were at the first session, but I will briefly go through things really fast just to kind of get you guys up to speed. So as you can see, this is the interface for OpenShot, and OpenShot is set. They have two different interface settings, and the one that we're going to use today, I'm just going to hide this screen here so it's on top of my window. Let me just see here. We're going to hide. There we go. So up here, we will notice that there is a view button. So at any time you figure that something is messed up and you think you've broken OpenShot, you've not broken it. You may have closed a panel. I remember last week we were working on a project and Glenn thought he broke the program. He didn't break anything. He just closed a panel, and it's very simple. There are little buttons next to each of these sections. Like, this is the project. This is where you put your project files. This is your preview window. This is your timeline. If at any point you close one like this, oh, it's gone. I've broken it. What do I do? Nothing is broken. Just to remind you that you can go up under View, go under Views, and the view that we're showing now is Simple View, but today we're going to use Advanced View. Advanced View shows you a little more on the screen. I'm going to choose that, go full screen, and then now you'll see it. So it just gives you a little more to work with. It shows you more of the panels at one time. Again, like I showed last time, you can take these panels and move them around and customize them to the way you want them. You can break them out, move them around to different spots. It all comes down to what you're used to. If you've used video editing software in the past, you may have had a particular layout that you liked. But for this one here, we are just going to use the advanced view. And just give me one more moment here. I'm just going to get rid of that. Perfect. And we're going to start here with this interface. And if anyone remembers, the very first thing that we do in order to bring files in is we import them into our projects. There are three ways to do that. One, you can drag them in from a folder. Two, you can right click in the project section and say import files. And the third way is the plus button up here. So we're just going to click here, import files. And what I'm going to import right now are some of the project files that we're going to use today to assemble a cool video that I've created once already for Professor David Wilson for English. I'm going to actually show you all these files. I'm going to grab all of these and say open. And if you notice,
are we to follow along with you?
Sorry, could you say that again?
Are we to follow along with you, or are we just to observe?
You can follow along. I can give you a chance if you want to grab those same files that are in the folder.
Yeah.
If you go into import files and you go into the video folder, you will see all these same files that we're going to grab.
Excuse me, Jay, it's Porter Scobie here.
Hi.
Are all these files in a zip file? And I click on the zip file, I just sort of go to a folder and the files are all separate. Is there a zip file with everything in it?
Yeah, so there's one zip file that has all of the folders inside them. So if you extracted that one zip file, it would extract all the folders separately.
Yeah, but what I can't seem to find is the zip file, because the link that looks like a zip file isn't a zip file.
Okay, let's actually look into
Or the link in the email that looked like a link to a zip file was not a link to a zip file.
Okay, I'm going to actually copy the link into the chat here.
Okay.
And then hopefully people can grab it from here. So let's see. Where is our chat at? There we go. Paste it in here. So let me know if you can grab this file that I've just pasted into the chat and see if you can download the zip file from there.
Hi, sorry. So I did download this yesterday and have everything all ready to go, but I see that you have 6 files and the zip file only contains 5.
Correct.
So that's okay?
That's fine. The one you will not see is the one called davidwilson.mp4. The reason why I put that in there is so that I can basically show you what we're going to build.
Oh, okay. So I have David Wilson MP4, end credits, lower third, Luke, and B-roll. What I don't have is welcome.
Oh, sorry. I was mistaken. Yes, that is the one you don't have as welcome.
Okay, awesome. That's great.
Okay. And I'm actually going to show you guys what this video looks like while we're waiting for people to get the files. So I'm going to place this into our timeline. It's as easy as just dragging it down from your project files. I'm going to hit my space bar, and if you watch the preview window, you're going to, hopefully you can hear it too. I'm going to make sure that you're going to be able to hear everything too. And yeah, let me know if you can hear this. It'll be quiet at first, and then it'll play. Can you guys hear David? You don't hear his voice? Okay, it's a sharing option. Just give me 1 second. Usually when you share a screen, you need to tell it to share the audio as well.
Why would they make it easy for you?
Exactly. So let me stop this share. And then we're going to create a new share. And there is an option for the audio. Share sound, here we are. Okay, let's play it again.
Hi, welcome to English 1205, Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your instructor for this class, where we explore essays, paintings, poems, drama, songs, and stories that help us understand what it means to be human. Why are we still so superstitious in the 21st century? Why do some of us enjoy watching horror films? How do we define beauty? And how can we write with style? These are just some of the questions we'll consider in Module 1. For Module 2, we'll explore flash fiction, micro stories that show us that less really is more. Then we turn our attention to a collection of classic 19th century text. We study 2 Sherlock Holmes stories in Module 3 as we investigate the popularity of detective fiction. Then in Module 4, we'll examine the dark side of our psyche with Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. We'll notice how this Gothic tale has connections to current issues concerning mental health and substance abuse. Finally, for Module 5, we'll see how comedy can be a very serious business, with Oscar Wilde's amusing play, The Importance of Being Earnest. You'll laugh, you'll learn, in that order. But we're not done there. 3 more modules are included in our literary tour. We'll consider the ongoing impact of modernism and the lost generation as we discuss stories by Hemingway and F. Scott Fitzgerald. We'll discover that Shakespeare's sonnets, Rupi Kaur's poems, and Taylor Swift's songs have more in common than we might think. Our last module will be a trip to the virtual art gallery as we scrutinize the links between famous paintings and poems. All our work is done online, even the exam. This asynchronous course is structured in easy-to-follow modules. You'll log on to complete the weekly tasks, like taking a quiz, making a posting to a public forum, and uploading your essay. We'll get to meet online once a week in a Zoom session to talk things over. All you need is a computer, tablet, or smartphone. The course contains a variety of resources to help you understand the material and succeed. There are brief background notes to review, podcasts to listen to, video and PowerPoint movies to watch. You'll get to participate in online activities like creating a thought cloud, testing your knowledge with a storyboard, and going on a mystery quest. Our goal is to become better readers who can critically respond to a range of text. You don't need to be a web tech or expert in literature, just curious, disciplined, and opinionated. I'm here to guide you through the process, support your learning, and answer all your questions. So let's get started. See you online.
So that's what we're going to create today. That was about 3 minutes and a bit, but I've simplified the files down so that it's not going to take as long to assemble everything. But in the process, I will teach you some of the techniques that I showed you last time, and I'll show you a few new things, new advanced things, especially using transitions and effects. So if everyone is ready, I'm going to delete this, and we're going to get started assembling. Is everybody prepared?
Yes.
Perfect.
I still haven't been able to get that link. Also went to same thing I had before, 4 folders with all the files in it, but that's okay. I'm just going to follow along and maybe I'll come back to it at the end.
Yeah, it's really sorry about that. So here's how we're going to begin. Like I showed you the first time, down here is our timeline, and we want to label our timeline so that we can organize it a little better. So in this case, we don't have audio because the audio is going to be attached to the video. So we're just going to rename some of the tracks. I'm going to call the first track, if you right click on the track and say rename, I'm going to call this one video. Hit OK. I'm going to go to the next track. I'm going to right click. I'm going to say rename track. I'm going to call this one images. Hit OK. Track 5, I'm going to right click. I'm going to call this one lower third, and I'll explain what a lower third is soon. And I think that is all we need for this assembly. The first thing we're going to grab, and we're going to bring it down to video, is davidwilson.mp4. So I'm going to grab this from our projects, bring it down to video, make sure we pull it to the beginning. Oops, sorry, just moved that over too far. Make sure it starts at the very beginning of your timeline. If it doesn't, you can click and drag it. So just make sure you drag it all the way to the left. And also, like I showed you in the first session, make sure your lock magnetic snapping is enabled. So click that button if it's not already. So now that we have David Wilson in there, if you grab your playhead, you'll notice, click your spacebar, it'll play, and then you'll see him appear.
Hi, welcome to English 1205, Introduction to Literature.
And then the next thing we're going to add is our lower third. And so the lower third is the title that appears when he says his name. And I've already created that, and it's already in the projects files. So once he starts saying his name, and we're going to just hit the space bar and allow it to play to that point.
Literature. I'm David Wilson.
He says, I'm David Wilson. At this point, we can go to our lower thirds layer, grab our lower thirds object from the project file and drag it down to that exact spot. Now, if you play that, if you pull your playhead back, click your space bar, you'll see what happens.
Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your instructor for this class, where we explore essays, paintings, poems.
So that's what a lower third is. It's basically a title that appears to introduce someone's name or a title or something like that. They use the term lower third because it's usually in the lower third of a window. In this case, it's in the lower left. Has everyone gotten to that point? Actually, I didn't put it in the right timeline right there. It should be right about there. So yeah, so make sure you're putting them in the proper track in your timeline. It's just for organizational purposes, that's all.
Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your
And if you want to just position it the way you want it, just anywhere where he starts saying his name.
05, Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your instructor for this class.
So once we have it that far, the next thing we need to add is our images. So I've created an entire B-roll of images that if you just drag it down into your images section, sorry.
Sorry, there's just a question in the chat from Amanda. I just keep getting the same files from the last time to open. So I don't know if that's just Amanda, you might need to start a new project, maybe.
Oh, just is she saying that the last time when she opened up her program, she has the same files as last time? As the last project?
I'm not sure. Amanda, if you could clarify if it's if that's the case.
And if that is the case, then what you can do instead is you can say file new project and it would start from scratch and everything would go blank.
She says, yep, and I've started a new project. But you're still getting the same files?
I'm confused.
Yeah, she said yes.
I'm not entirely sure what's happening. But if she wants to stay later after the session, I can maybe walk her through some of the problems that she's having.
Right. And you were able to successfully download the assets from part 2? That's interesting.
Okay. Yeah, but usually when you say file new project, it starts off with a blank slate and everything is clean. Everything's cleared up. So like I said, if she wants to stay after the session, I can maybe walk her through it a little better. And maybe she could share her screen and I could assist her that way. So let's continue. So what I just grabbed there was my B-roll and I pulled it down and I'm putting it above David Wilson in the images track. You notice it's blue, and that's where some of our effects are going to come into play. So over on the right-hand side, we have all of our effects. And if we scroll down, we see one called chroma key. And chroma key is a term that they use in video editing where you want to remove a color from a piece of video. It's what they use in motion pictures when they have superheroes flying through the air and they want to make them look like they have different backgrounds. That's what chroma key is. A lot of the times, the more prominent colors that they use are green and blue. In this case, we're using blue. So what I'm going to do to remove all of this blue, and sorry, so before I get ahead of myself, in the images section, if you notice from while I'm pulling over my timeline, the images that David spoke about in his video that I showed you at the beginning will appear. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the chroma key effect. We're going to click it and we're going to drag it on top of B-roll. And you'll notice when you drop it, a little C, which means chroma key, I'm assuming, appears. If you double click on that C, it allows you to change the properties of the chroma key. So what we're going to do now.
I don't see my chroma key.
It's in you don't see chroma key under effects?
Oh,
If you,
wait.
it's here on the right-hand side. If you're in the advanced view, it's on the right-hand side. And if you scroll down, it should be right below caption.
No, but I don't see that bar on the side of mine.
Sorry, you don't see what?
The bar with all those pictures on the right-hand side.
Oh, you
It's-
don't. If you go under view along the top and you go under views, can you choose advanced view?
Okay, advanced view. Okay, now I see it.
Yeah, that the first time when I did the first session, we used the simple view, but
Mhm.
because we're doing a little more advanced things here, we're going to use the advanced view.
Okay, so now I just look for the chroma key.
That's correct.
All right, thank you.
No problem. So once you found the chroma key, like I said, you click on it and you drag it and you drop it on top of the B-roll. And then you'll notice once you drop it, a little C will show up in the corner. If you double click on that C, the properties will show up here on the left-hand side. What we're going to do is we're going to choose a color to eliminate. So you double click on the word key color, and it'll bring up this dialog box, which allows you to pick a screen color. We're going to choose the option here that says pick screen color. And then I'm going to bring my cursor over to the blue area, then click on it and hit OK. And if you notice, it vanishes. There's no more in blue. But what you do see are the images that are below there. So we'll continue from here. I'm going to show you guys what that looks like now. So now if I hit my space bar and play my video, you'll see what happens.
Hi, welcome to English 1205, Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your instructor for this class, where we explore essays, paintings, poems, drama, songs, and stories that help us understand what it means to be human. Why are we still so superstitious in the 21st century?
So if you noticed, the cat appeared when he spoke about superstition. This is exactly where we want our videos to go forward. One thing that I did notice that we're going to fix is that if you scroll back with you on your timeline with your playhead, you'll get back to your title window. And I've noticed that the cup here does not have a St. Mary's logo on it, but we're going to fix that. The initial one that got released has a St. Mary's logo on that, and this one doesn't have it. So what we're going to do is we're going to edit this video so that that cup has the proper logo on top. So how we do that is we set our playhead to right before the logo ends. So, and if you want to, you could either just drag it back and forth to around this spot. Also, something I taught in the introduction lesson was that this bar up top here, if you drag it back and forth, it makes your timeline bigger so you can make more precise edits. So if you need things to be bigger on the screen to make better edits, you can just click and drag this blue bar along the top, left and right. So I'm going to make it very small. And then I'm going to go to that point exactly where the video ends, or where the title ends. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to say slice. And then I'm going to say keep right side. You'll only do this when you're on top of, oh, sorry, I did that to the wrong layer. We want to do it to the David Wilson one. Get to that point, right click, say slice, keep right side, and it'll delete this whole section that had the title on it. We're going to now replace it with the proper image. So we have to import that image into our project. We're going to go up to our project files. I'm going to right click, import files. This time I'm going to go to my images folder and I'm going to find the file titled title. Hit open. Title's going to show up in my project files. I'm going to now click and drag that down to where David Wilson's video is. And now if you play this back, you'll notice now the cup has a St. Mary's logo on it. If I play this now, you'll see what happens.
Hi, welcome to English 1205.
And as well, if you notice when I drag that down, if it overlaps, if two clips overlap, it creates a fade. And that's something else I taught in the introductory level. You can adjust the fade to as long as you want, but as long as they're overlapping each other, it'll create a transition or a fade. And the default is just a fade left, or it's just like a plain fade transition. So now that we've gotten that far.
Hi, welcome to English 1205, Introduction to Literature.
Everything looks good there.
Some of the questions we'll consider
If you guys
in
want to take
Module
a
1.
second to kind of go through it to make sure that everything is lined up properly.
For Module 2,
I'm just going to look at everything here and make sure that everything is nice and clean. I'm going to drag through really fast to see if everything's coming through. Everything seems to be there.
all your questions. So let's get started. See you online.
So at the very end, we have another thing that we want to add. It's called like an end credit, or you could call it an outro. I've also created that. We're going to put that at the very end of our video. I'm going to add that to our projects. I'm going to right click, import files, and go to our images. Is it under images? No, it's under, here it is. It's under videos, end credits. I must already have it in there. Yes. So if you look at end credits, it's already in your project file. I'm going to click, drag that to the end of the videos. You can overlap it if you want. It'll create a little transition. And now if I play this part from this end.
Questions. So let's get started. See you on.
Oh, I think I started too soon.
So let's get started. See you online.
That's the end credit there. I'm actually going to get rid of that transition that appeared there. We don't need that. That's something else I showed you in the introductory level, that if you get a transition that you don't want, you can click on it and just click delete. So I'm just going to drag that back.
Get started. Here. See you online.
And that's it. Let me know where everyone is at. And if anyone has questions at this point, if I've gone too fast, let me know. I'm just going to play this again so you can see it.
Hi, welcome to English 1205, Introduction to Literature. I'm David Wilson, your instructor for this class, where we explore essays, paintings, poems, drama, songs, and stories that help us understand what it means to be human. Why are we still so superstitious in the 21st century? Why do some of us enjoy watching horror films? How do we define beauty? And how can we write with style?
So does everyone understand what we've done there? So we've basically just taken a bunch of different elements, put them on different tracks, and edited them to the point where we want them to play smoothly. We've taken the blue color out of the images so that you could see through them. We've added lower thirds. We added an end credit. This is all just about assembly and composition. Does everything make sense to everybody already? Are there any questions? Everything good? Okay. So now that we've assembled, what we need to do now is we need to export our file so that we'll have a file that we can share either on social media, or we can share it on Brightspace, or we can put it up on YouTube, wherever you want to put it. And how we do that is the red button up here says export video. We're going to choose that button. It's going to give us a dialog box. It's going to ask us what the file is going to be called. I'm just going to call this David Wilson. It's going to ask you where you want to save it. I'm going to just save it to my desktop. select the folder. It's going to ask me for a profile. I've already set my profile to be full HD 1080p 29 seconds, 29.97 seconds. You can choose whatever format you want, but just remember that certain formats work better on certain systems, like QuickTime files work better on Macs. MP4s are pretty universal. It just depends on what your end result is. You can also choose the level of quality you want, high, medium, low. That'll also determine the size of your file and how long it takes to render. So if I say export video now, it's going to go through the process of exporting. And while I'm exporting, I'm going to open the channel to anyone who has questions from this point, and we're going to go on to another section afterwards. I'm just reading through the chat, make sure there's no questions coming through that I haven't seen. And like I said, the bigger the video, because this video is about 3 minutes long, it would probably take, I'm going to say, 3 to 5 minutes to render it. And please take that into consideration when you're making your videos. If you make a very long video up to like 15, 20 minutes, it's going to take a long time to render, depending on the speed of your computer and the speed of your hard drive. If you're using an SSD, it'll be a little faster. If you're using a high-end computer that has a very strong video card and it's a very fast processor, it will be a little faster. But video editing is a tedious process. Usually when people come to me and ask me about how long does it take to produce something, the rule of thumb is 1 minute of video is about 1 hour of editing. So just take that into consideration. It's kind of like an art form. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to a lot of these things. I want to make sure everything is perfect, especially because I'm working for people that are putting material online for courses. And, first impressions are very important. So I want to make sure everything is great for the profs. And feel free to experiment in the program with just grabbing photos and overlapping photos within the timeline and watching the different effects that they create. And in the next half hour, I'm going to show you some effects and some animation, some simple animation, and answer any other questions that you guys have. I'm going to cancel the export since I already have this file, but I just want to give you guys an idea of how long something like that would take. Okay. So I'm going to create a new file or a new project when everyone is ready. If anyone has more questions, I'm willing to answer them, but if not, I'm going to move forward with the next section. No questions? Okay. So we're going to create a new project. And if you notice, I just created a new project and all of my tracks went blank, all of my projects went blank, and there's nothing on the screen. So we're going to start from scratch again. So earlier I was telling you guys about chroma key, and I'm going to show you guys another aspect of chroma key, and I'm going to show you some simple animation that you could work with a chroma keyed image. So we're going to right click on our project files. I'm going to import under videos. I'm going to import Luke, hit open. I'm also going to right click, say import files. This time I'm going to go to images. I'm going to import backdrop, hit open. And I'm also going to import a file, which is the St. Mary's University logo. So right now in our project files, you should see Luke, backdrop, and St. Mary's University logo. So I'm going to start naming my tracks. I'm going to call track 3 Luke. I'm going to name track 4 backdrop. Sorry about the dogs. And track 5, we're going to name this logo. So first thing we'll do is we'll take Luke, we'll drag him down to the Luke area. Make sure you pull him right to the beginning of the timeline. I'm noticing now that I put Luke and backdrop in the wrong order. So I'm going to click on, can I drag? No, I can't. I was thinking I could just drag these up and down. I'm going to actually rename these. I'm going to call this one backdrop. Depending on the video editing software you use, you can usually drag the tracks around, and this one you can't. So I'll call Luke. Okay, I'm going to drag Luke up to there. Then we're going to take our backdrop. I'm going to drag it down behind him, pull it out a little bit. And now if you notice, Luke has a green backdrop. We're going to now apply the same effect that we did for the first one, but instead of removing blue, we're going to be removing green. So I'm going to go to my effects on the right-hand side, click on chroma key, drag it down on top of Luke, double click on the little C that appears, gives you your properties on the left-hand side here. I'm going to double click on key color. I'm going to say pick screen color. And then I'm going to choose somewhere. If you notice, like his backdrop is not a perfectly solid green. There's some shades of green in there. And we're going to discuss how we can get rid of all this in the future. But I'm going to just pick a color, so maybe somewhere in the center here. It's kind of in between all the colors. Hit OK. And you'll notice part of his backdrop just kind of vanished. Some of it's there, some of it's not. How we adjust that is by going to the threshold here on the left-hand side. Right now it says 5. If I just click and start dragging left and right, you'll notice more and more of the backdrop goes away. But there's a fine line to getting rid of all the green and not digging into his self. And you'll notice if you go too high, it could actually start digging into, it can be digging into his body. And that's just a matter of playing with it. So we're going to grab the playhead. We're going to drag back and forth and see how clean it is. It's not perfectly clean because if you notice right about there, there's some stuff here on the left. And that's just because it wasn't a perfectly solid green. Those are some things you run into when you're doing chroma key. If you don't have proper lighting, you'll get some dark areas and some light areas. It takes a little bit of adjustment to get rid of them all, but I'm going to show you a few little tricks in this program that will allow you to do it.
Hey, I have a quick question here.
Sure.
If you have, I was going to ask it when you were on the first project, but I thought, no, that's obvious. But now that we're in the second project, what I thought was obvious there doesn't seem to be here. So it's this. In that first project, the little rectangles at the left end of the times are, the icons for those things, right? But in the first project, there were 2 of the timelines that had like darker color, and that seemed to be telling me how long those things were. So in this project, like I'm not seeing that. So because Luke is a video, I'm kind of expecting to see a darker timeline with sort of an end somewhere over there to the right, and I'm not seeing that. So what's my
that may
confusion there?
So what you're probably noticing is that this clip is much shorter. That's why.
Okay.
The length of it, like I'll give you an example. So for instance, this backdrop, I can pull this across.
Okay.
And if you notice, it's up to 2 minutes and 24 seconds. So
Okay. So yeah. So you
that's
actually
exactly what
pulled
it
it
means.
across. Yes. Okay. Yeah.
So
Okay.
not every clip you can pull across, because some clips are not that long. Like a
Right.
video cannot be stretched because it's only so long.
Uh-huh.
But photo files like this one,
Okay. Yeah.
you can drag that as long as you want because it's a still image.
Right. Okay.
And
Thank you.
yeah, no, not a problem. So let's go back here. So you notice here that there is a little bit of green still there. There's a little trick that you can do. You can grab another chroma key from the properties, from the effects, I mean, drag it down and put it on top again. Double click on the second C. Same process, key color, pick screen color, and then pick this green this time. And you can do this as many times as you want. So you notice I can just drag it along a little more and get, like I said, there's a fine line. You don't want to dig into the person. And this OpenShot is a very simplistic version of a video editor. That's why we're using it, because it's a simple program that anyone could use. It's not going to be perfect, but it'll get the job done. If you really want high professional quality, like I showed you earlier with the David Wilson video, we use a program called Adobe Premiere, and it's a higher end program. It costs a lot of money. That's why it's better. This is free, and that's why it's not as perfect as the other one. But like I said, this will get the job done if you want it. So if you notice now, when I'm scrubbing back and forth, the majority of the green is gone. And let me just play this really fast so you can see what this is gonna look like.
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway. I use he, him pronouns. I'm Assistant Professor of Creative Writing within the Department of English Language and Literature here at St. Mary's University.
So that's it. That's the length of the video. That's why you don't see anything past that. And if you guys run into issues where there's still green showing up, just like I said, drag to that spot on the timeline, drag another chroma key down, double click on the circle, choose your key color, and click on that color, and it should get rid of it. Okay. So now that we've got this in here, I'm going to show you guys some basic keyframe animation. So I'm going to drag the St. Mary's logo from the project file down to the logo section. If you notice, it appears right in the center and it's way too big. So in order to adjust the size, there's a little trick. You could grab the corners. If you notice, these are property handles. You could drag those, but it may not drag proportionately and you may end up skewing the image. So the trick on Windows is to hold Control on your keyboard, grab the corner and drag, and it should drag it proportionally. It's Control on a PC, and I think it's Command on a Mac. I can't remember exactly. And then also remember, if you're going to make any kind of changes to a logo, make sure you're at the beginning of your timeline, because if you don't, you could have some crazy wonky effects that happen. And I'll explain that as well. So now that we have our logo on the screen, we're going to do some cool, simple animation to it. So I'm going to drag it down here, leave it there, and then I'm going to right click on the logo. And I'm good. Oh, something else I wanted to actually explain to people, that if you're having trouble right clicking because you're on a Mac, in the corner, there's a little icon in the corner of each of these objects. If you click on that little object in the corner, it brings up the same window. It brings up the same dialog box. So we're going to right click or click that little icon. We're going to go to animate. And in the animate section, it gives you different options. How do you want to animate this? Do you want to animate this from the start of the clip, end of the clip, or the entire clip? For this case, we're going to say start of the clip. We're going to say edge to center. And then I'm going to say left to center. Click that. And if you rewind to the beginning, then click your space bar or the play button underneath the preview window. You'll see what happens to the logo.
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway. I use he, him pronouns.
So when I mentioned earlier about make sure that you've rewound right to the beginning before you apply your effects, what I did not do is I did not have it rewound before I started moving my object. So what we're going to do is I'm going to right click on that. I'm going to go to animate. I'm going to say no animation. That's going to delete all the animation from that logo. It's going to be all gone. I'm going to now rewind back to the beginning of my clip. I'm going to hold in control. I'm going to resize. I'm going to position it. Now I'm going to, now that I know I'm at the beginning of my clip, I'm going to now right click, animate, start of clip. I'm going to say edge to center. I'm going to say left to center. Now, if I hit the space bar, this is what happens.
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway.
Okay, has everyone gotten that far?
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway.
And so that's a simple animation you can do. You can bring logos onto the screen or any kind of objects onto the screen. And then from here, I'm also going to right click. I'm going to add another animation. I'm going to right click, animate. This one I'm going to say end of clip. This time I'm going to say center to edge. Since it's at the center now, I'm going to say center to bottom. So if you watch what happens here.
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway.
Okay, well, since this clip is a little long, I'm going to actually just shorten it up a little bit, just so you can get a gist of how it's going to look. Center to bottom, there we go.
Hello, my name is Luke Hathaway. I use he, him pronouns. I'm assistant professor.
So does everyone understand what just happened there? So at the beginning, we said go at the beginning of the clip to say edge to center. So it goes from the left edge to the center.
My name is
Then
Luke
at the end of our clip, we told it to go center to bottom.
Hathaway. I use he, him pronouns. I'm assistant professor of creative.
Okay. So some things that we can do if you don't like the way that the animation is, if you think it's not accurate enough, or if you want to make adjustments to say speed or anything like that, on the left hand side you'll notice these are all of your properties, and we can adjust the keyframes. And if you noticed here within our object, these little dots that appeared, these are keyframes. So I'm going to get rid of the animation and start again so that you'll understand. Under animate, start of clip, edge to center, left to center. So you'll notice these two icons show up. I'm just going to drag this out so we really see them close. These are our keyframes. If we want to adjust these keyframes manually, say that we don't like exactly the position to put them in, we can do that by just dragging to the keyframe. And if you look at the left-hand side when you're dragging your playhead, once you hit one of those keyframes, the color changes on the left-hand side to green. That means you're actually on a keyframe right now. And in this keyframe, we have a location X and a location Y. If we want to adjust those keyframes in particular, you can either type in a number. I'll type in 1 and 1.
Hello.
So you notice what just happened there? Because I typed in a different number, it's going to actually put it in those positions within the XY axis. Does that make sense to everybody? It's using a little bit of math, but you can either do it that way, or you can do things where you can actually click and drag. Like, for instance, if you, in this area, if you clicked and dragged left and right, you'll notice it moves and the values are changing. You can only do that within the keyframes themselves. And if you don't, things can go a little crazy. So for instance, if I went over here and I made an adjustment, say that I went here, a third keyframe will appear and you'll notice what happens. It's all a matter of, you know, knowing what you want and how you want it to appear on the screen at the same time. Okay, I'm gonna get rid of the animation and delete this. We don't need this anymore. I'm also now going to start talking about some of the special effects that you can do to a video. So on the right-hand side, we have different things that you can drag on top of your video, such as bars. And let's drag this one over and show you what that would look like. If you click on and drag, you get your top and bottom bars appear on top of your video. And like I said, every time you apply an effect, it shows up as a little dot on your screen. And if you double click it, you can make adjustments to it. You can change the color of your bars and anything like that. I'm going to get rid of that. Control Z does undo if you want to get rid of anything that you've applied. Let's try blur. I'll show you what blur looks like. Drag blur down on top. It makes the video blurry. And you can adjust the blur by double clicking and left and right, scroll back and forth. You can see how it changes it. Let's try another one. Let's say, let's do color saturation. You can change your color saturation. Look, I'm adjusting the blue saturation. You can adjust the green, adjust the red just by dragging back and forth. All of the effects in the effects panel have similar adjustments in the properties panel. It's just a matter of going in and playing with them. Let's try color shift. Drag that in, double click. This does some really funky stuff. I don't normally use these, but like I said, feel free to try anything you want. Be creative. That's the whole point of video editing, is being creative. Does anyone have any questions about effects? Another cool one to use is crop. If you drag my crop down there, you can crop the left side. See, it cuts right into it. The right side, top, and vice versa. Okay. Sorry, I did too many undos there. And like I said, and there are some effects here that are just for audio. We don't have an audio clip in here to use, but you can get things like distortion for the audio. You'll know that they're audio effects because they have little sound waves in the icons. This is distortion. I'm assuming that'll distort the audio. Echo will probably make an echo. Oh, we have more here. We have hue. Let's try hue really fast. See what this looks like. Yeah. You can make look like he's an alien. I don't think he'd like that very much. But yeah, that is it for this. I got to show you how to create a introduction video. I got to show you how to use chroma key. We learned a little bit about animation and keyframe adjustments. Something else I can show you really fast is the emojis section here. I think I kind of briefly talked about it last time. There are lots of different emojis you can just choose from. They're just little icons that you can put in your videos. That's all they are. And they basically act the same way as a graphic. So if I drag that one down, see, it would show up on the screen and you can apply an animation to it, apply different effects to it, all those types of things. I'll scale it down, bring it up here. Let's apply a quick little animation to it. Let's say animate. Let's do a zoom this time instead of a, let's zoom in 50 to 100. So let's see what that looks like.
My name is Luke Hathaway.
But that's it. That's animation. That is chroma key. That is keyframes and effects. Are there any other questions?
Jay, there's a question in the chat from Lyndon.
Okay.
I don't know if do you want me to read it out? Or
No, I can read it out, and I'll read it out for everyone. So it says, are there video editors available to SMU faculty without individual purchase as part of the institutional agreement? I'm not aware of that. What you may need to do is talk to your department head, and they could talk to someone at procurement or at the help desk, and they can give you a better indication of what video software they're supporting. I know that there are a lot of different departments that are using the Adobe suite, and I'm not sure if there is a university-wide license for them all, but that's something I would want to talk to the help desk about. There's another question that comes in. Does the order of effects in a video determine how the effects will interact with each other? So for instance, are you asking if you apply several effects to the same clip, do they affect each other? I don't think they affect each other. I think they affect the clip in general. Like as a whole, the entire clip will be affected by that effect. Does that make sense? It doesn't,
Yeah,
like they don't go in an order.
It does. I was asking, like, if you change the saturation and then put chroma key on, so the saturation icon on the video would be on the left, and then chroma key to take the green away, but the saturation or the color changes changed him to green. Would the chroma key pick up on the effect that was previously put on the video before the chroma key was put on? I guess I could test it myself.
I don't believe it does. Because
it just affects the video, not the
yeah,
effect.
I think it just
on the
affects
video.
the video itself, not the effect applied to the video.
Perfect. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so this is Ashley asks if one wants to have video done, are there green screens and camera equipment available to faculty to use? So yes and no. We have the media suite is in Burke 219. That's where I work. If you want to have professional video shot with professional cameras, lights and screens and microphones, you'll come to me and I can do that for you. We have in the past loaned out cameras once in a while, but we don't do that a lot. We do not have green screens to loan out. Something else to consider, that over in Sobe, they have just built a podcast studio, which they are, I think in May, they are going to be opening it up to the university to come in and use. They also have a green screen and lights and cameras. But if you're looking to have something created, you can contact me personally. I will put my information in the chat so that everyone has it. And yeah, that's basically my job at St. Mary's, is that I produce video for faculty and staff throughout the university. Just gonna put this in the chat for everyone. And also, if you need more information, if you go to the studio website, there's more information on the media suite there. Yes, thanks, Amanda. How do you choose this open source video? Okay, so we chose the open source video editor because it's open source, it's free, and it's available on almost every platform. So if you're using a Mac or a PC or a Linux machine, or even I think it even works on Android. We just wanted to use a piece of software that was simple and available to almost everybody. So that's why we chose this. It's not the best program, and I've learned that by going through it and kind of building the tutorials for it. I've noticed like even the chroma key feature is not perfect, but it does get the job done. That's all. I'm just looking at some more questions here.
Jay's Porter Scobie here again. I'm still looking for one link to one zip file with everything in it for this session. Because that one you put in earlier just went to went somewhere. And
I'm wondering that. I wonder if it has anything to do with your OneDrive account. Maybe you're not connecting to it probably because of your OneDrive. Like, has anyone else here that's in the session had problems downloading the zip file, like Porter?
No, it was just a quick download.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it may have something to do with your account.
Well, that could well be. I've not had all that much luck with OneDrive, to tell you the truth.
Well, I would not be against maybe even bringing you a file on campus sometime if you want. I can bring it over on a.
Trouble is, I'm not typically. I started teaching online at the beginning of the pandemic, and I never looked back. So I'm hardly. I'm hardly ever on campus.
Then I don't blame you.
Okay. So thing is, so are you telling me that if I in that email that was sent out, there was a link that looked for all the world like a zip file, so that if I clicked on that, I would simply,
Yeah.
in my downloads would appear a zip file, and that would be it. But
That's right. Yeah.
that did not happen in my case. That went to let me just see if I can.
I just posted a little screenshot of what happened, like if you see what I see in terms of if you click on it, you get the files and then you can just download them at the top. I don't know did yours look like that?
Yes, looked like that.
You weren't able to download?
No, for some reason. So
I also
let me just see if I can get back to that here.
That's funny you bring this up, because I've noticed that sometimes if the download button does not show up like along the top there, like she's showing in the diagram, if there are 3 dots anywhere on that screen, if you click on the 3 dots, that's where the download button appears.
Yeah. Okay. So right now I'm in my Outlook and I'm looking at the email that Amanda sent out today. And so once again, I'm going to click on that zip link. And so now I get verifying link, and then I go to assets for workshop, and I do not see what I see is, there's a gray sort of thing at the top with a 4 in it. So I guess that means there's 4 folders. And then there's a folder called extra images. And there's one called images, there's one called music, and there's one called videos.
Right.
But there is that little download icon is not there. And at the top, it says assets for workshop 2.zip. And, clicking on that is no help. So, I'm obviously missing something here.
You know what I could do? We could do a personal call between you and I, and you could share your screen with me, and maybe I could help you that way.
Okay. That would be great.
Yeah, not a problem. I'm just looking if there are any more questions. Does anyone want a quick little bonus section? I don't mind staying a couple of minutes longer and showing you a quick little bonus thing tied into more of the beginner level that I showed you last time. If anyone wants to stick around for a couple more minutes.
Sounds great.
Okay, so I'm going to start a new project. And let me just cancel out of this. Okay, so the last time we did this, it was basically like a slideshow that I showed you. So I'm going to do the same thing again. We're going to import our files. I'm going to import some of these same images that I imported last time, which is like the atrium images and McNally, and I'll just grab all these, doesn't matter. I'm gonna say open, they're all gonna show up in my project files. I'm not gonna bother renaming my tracks right now because it's just gonna be simple. So we're just gonna click our images and drag them down to our tracks. And I'm gonna grab 3, I'm gonna grab 4 images, okay? So if you guys remember the last time I showed you this, if you click and drag and you overlap your images, it'll automatically put a fade between them. So this is what that'll look like. Hit space. So it'll do a fade. I'm going to do that to each of these. Overlap them a little bit. It's going to create a little fade. And now I'm going to show you some different types of transitions that we can use. Instead of the primary fade, we're going to try a couple different things. So for instance, I don't like a fade, so I want to do a wipe to bottom. So up here in my transitions, I'm going to click wipe to bottom. I'm going to drag it down on top. Let me just zoom in so I can see this a little closer. Adjust my transition to be the same length as my last one. And now, instead of it being a fade, oh, sorry, got to get rid of our fade. Drag this one over instead. And you'll notice what will happen is it'll fade to bottom. I didn't pull it over far enough. Just go like that. Now it's here, fades. So that's one way you can do it. Let's go grab another one. Get rid of that one. The secret is you have to have them overlapping in order for any of these effects, or sorry, any of these transitions to work properly. So I'm going to say bar ripple 10, drag that down. And let's do a quick little adjustment by changing the size of it. You really have to position it properly for it to get the proper effect. But you notice what happens there? Let's try there. I'm not getting it at the right spot. Yeah, the transitions are tricky, and that's kind of why I don't find this program is the best for doing any kind of for video editing, or sorry, for doing any kind of like real advanced things. It's just a little trickier. It's not as easy. But yeah, it's just a matter of positioning the way. There you go. That looks a little better. Let's try get rid of this one. Let's try board 6. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah. That's kind of neat. So this is a easy way to do slideshows. And if you wanted to, instead of just having your images transition into each other, you could just have them animate on the screen. Much like I showed you before, if you right click, choose animate, let's say entire clip and say random. Let's watch what this does. So I'm going to go to the beginning. And let's try this one. We'll go into this one. We'll say animate. And we'll say start of clip, random. Let's find out what this one does. I guess for a lot of these, if you don't have the transitions on, that'd probably be better. But it's a cool way to do little slideshows so you can show your family. So you have pictures of your kids or animals. See that? That's it.